Hey, it's me, Riker. Today we're going to have a look at the brand new Mauler hero, Salaki the Cursebearer. Now this hero wears cloth-based gear, is part of the support class, and his primary role is to buff your allies, debuff the enemies, and negate a significant amount of incoming damage for your teammates. So let's have a look at his skills. His ultimate skill, Flagellant's Flame. Salaki sacrifices 20% of his current health to increase all allies' stat points, which is life leech by 20 points and haste by 15 points for 7 seconds. The lower the target's health percentage, the greater increase to the life leech and haste, up to 1.5 times this value. The increase is the highest when the health percentage is 50% or below. Salaki recovers 3% of his lost health every second during the effect of his ultimate. So essentially he can recover 21% of his max health during this time. After he uses his ultimate, Salaki permanently increases allied heroes' attack rating by 4% and life leech by 4 points. This can be stacked up to 3 times. So this means that the longer he stays on the battlefield, the more buffs he can provide for his allies. His next skill, Withering Winds. Upon entering battle, Salaki casts a spell that unleashes an accurate haze across the whole battlefield, lasting up to 30 seconds. While Withering Winds is active, all allied heroes take 30% less damage and deal 20% less damage. The reduction to damage received will start diminishing 5 seconds after Withering Winds is cast. The reduction to damage dealt will start diminishing immediately after Withering Winds is cast. These effects will diminish to 0 within 10 seconds. So this is a great way to essentially mitigate burst-based teams, as this 30% damage reduction might provide enough time for your allies to survive and deal damage. While using this skill, Salaki is immune to control effects. If he dies, Withering Winds will disappear after 5 seconds. His next upgrade, level 2, if Withering Winds has been active for 15 seconds, he will permanently increase damage dealt by allied heroes by 1% for every second Withering Winds remains active. His level 3, while Withering Winds is active, damage dealt by enemies, normal attacks is reduced by 20%. So this is a further damage reduction for the enemies, so they deal less damage and so that your allies can survive longer. Now his 30 engravings. If Withering Winds has been active for 15 seconds, he will permanently reduce the enemy's defense by 1 second for every second that Withering Winds remains active. So his next abilities are Frightening Force Field, Death Deferred, and his exclusive furniture. Now all of these intertwine into each other to make this hero extremely effective at mitigating incoming damage for his allies. So let's begin. His Frightening Force Field. Salaki grants a shield to the allied hero with the lowest health percentage, lasting 5 seconds, which negates damage equaling up to 20% of Salaki's max health, and also terrifies the enemy who attacked said ally most recently for 2.5 seconds. So this is a small fear. Level 2. When the shield breaks or its duration ends, it deals AoE damage around the ally equal to 140% of Salaki's attack rating and knocks enemies back. So if, for example, you have an ally that invades enemy lines, this will be a great way to essentially shield that ally, and as soon as they have entered the enemy backline, this shield will expire or end, and it will essentially detonate and dealing a significant amount of damage to the enemies. The level 3, damage is increased to 180% of Salaki's attack rating, and the level 4, while Withering Winds is active, the shield's value is increased to 30% of Salaki's max health. His next ability, Death Deferred. Now it has a passive and an active state. While Salaki is alive, 20% of direct damage received by allies will be spread out over 1 second for the next 4 seconds. So essentially any incoming damage that is coming into your allies will essentially be spread over your entire teammates. Now this might essentially reduce the amount of incoming damage so that a secondary support might easily be able to heal them up all the way to full health. Now the active. Salaki manifests a dark flame and attacks the enemy who has dealt the most damage, dealing damage equal to 200% of Salaki's attack rating to the target and all enemies within the flame's path. The level 2. When the skill deals damage, Salaki heals the allied hero with the lowest percentage health, healing 50% of the damage caused. The level 3. When the skill deals damage, Salaki reduces the attack rating by 12% and accuracy by 50 points for 4 seconds. So this is the enemy's attack rating and accuracy. So this further reduces the amount of incoming damage that is dealt to your allies. And the 16 Engravings reduces the delayed damage by 15%. If an enemy dies, all delayed damage caused by them will be removed. So let's have a look at how this all synergizes with his exclusive furniture. Now his exclusive furniture is broken up into 3 and 9. Now you are mostly interested in his 9-piece furniture. So let's begin with his 3. When Flagrant Flames, his ultimate, is used and an allied hero is being controlled, most of the control effects affecting the target will be lifted. So this is similar to Twin's ultimate. This effect can be triggered by each ally up to 3 times per battle. Now his 9 furniture. Using Frightening Flames, this is the shield that he provides on allies and the buffs that he provides as well, will clear all delayed damage. Now this delayed damage is the stagger-like effect received by the target. So this even further reduces the incoming damage that your allies will experience. So let's have a look at his signature item. Staff of Sacrifice. It is inheritance, and when you unlock it, when Salaki's ultimate ends, all allied heroes receive a shield. The shield's value is equal to 10% of the total damage caused by the allied heroes for the duration of the ultimate, and lasts for 5 seconds. The shield's value cannot exceed 10% of Salaki's max health. The 10 unlock. The shield value increased to 15% of the total damage caused by allied heroes for the duration of the ultimate. It lasts for 5 seconds and cannot exceed 15% of Salaki's max health. And the 20, the shield's value increases to 20% of the total damage caused by the allied hero after the duration for the ultimate, and it lasts for 5 seconds and it cannot exceed 20% up from 15%. Now, the 30 is where you would like to invest him into, is because of his cheat death ability that he has built into his 30 signature item. If Salaki receives damage that exceeds 30% of his current health, the damage will be negated, so this means that it will be completely removed at the cost of 1 soul vessel. It has a cooldown of 4 seconds and can only be triggered 3 times per battle. So this is essentially 3 cheat deaths that this ability provides. So let's have a look at how he does in battle. So when he begins battle, he'll usually start off with his Withering Winds, alright? So as we can see here, this little particles that are evaporating from the ground are the Withering Winds effect, and the little shields around his allies. As you can see, the shield around his allies, these symbolizes the buffs that he's providing his allies and the shield effects that he's also providing them as well. Now, as we can see, he sacrifices a bit of his health to provide shields for his teammates and negate the incoming damage. So let's have a look at him and how he works at a much higher deficit. So this is a 160 level deficit. Now, I would recommend using him in stall-based teams, so such as an Auna and a Grizzle-based team, where you have 2 extremely sturdy tanks, and then you have a backline who will essentially buff and heal the front line while all the damage is dealt by the main damage dealer. In this case, it is Odin. Now, as we can see here, when you compare him to another support hero, he does not provide a significant amount of healing. However, his other buffs, such as his haste, attack rating buffs, negating or essentially making your allies immune to incoming damage, this will be essentially his primary effect when he's placed into these stall-based teams. Now, when you have, for example, in this case, let's have a look at this battle. When you're fighting this team, you have a Leica that might provide a significant amount of damage or burst-like abilities for the allies. However, he will be able to negate this damage because of his shield and other various damage reduction effects. Now, as we can see here over his head, there are these 3 soul vessels. Now there are 2 because the damage that he received from Khazad exceeded 30%. So he used one of them to become immune to that damage and so that he can keep on providing buffs for his allies. So it is preferred that he be placed on the back line so that he can provide all the necessary attack and haste buffs for your allies so that they can survive long enough and deal all the necessary damage and claim victory for your team. There we go. He's providing all the buffs and healing. So let's speed up this battle. There we go. We have claimed victory and we can see the damage statistics. Now, another team that he might do extremely well in is in an Irons-based team. Now, Irons takes a significant amount of time to essentially charge up his abilities and to gain the necessary amount of energy to use his ultimate skill. That is where most of his damage comes. Now, this is usually at the 1 minute 15 second mark of the battle, and this will essentially give you more than enough time for Salaki to use his ultimate, buff his allies, and reduce the amount of incoming damage so Irons can survive and use all of his damage to one-shot all the enemies. So the minimum investment that I would recommend into Salaki would be to getting him all the way up to 30 signature item, as this gives him essentially 3 cheat deaths during the battle to allow him to buff all of your allies, including also his 9 furniture, as this will essentially allow him to negate a significant amount of incoming damage that will be dealt to your allies within the first couple of seconds in the battle. Now, his engravings is not that beneficial. However, they may provide a significant amount of durability to him so that he can stay long enough alive in order to provide all of his buffs. However, I do not recommend getting any of his engravings, only his signature item all the way to 30 and his furniture all the way to 9 out of 9 furniture.